I think we can go ahead and get started. This is October 30th, 2024. It's a Dayton Town Council special meeting. And first thing on the agenda is an interview with Wither and Burns for the position of our town attorney. So, kind of new to us, have to hire an attorney. But if you guys would kind of tell a little bit about yourselves and your history with municipal law, appreciate that.
Yeah, I can kind of get started there.
If you wouldn't mind, it's in order for it to get recorded, you almost really have to be in front of that microphone.
Yeah, no,
so.
absolutely.
Is it on? Steve, will you double check?
Tap the mic for me.
I can get it.
It's got a switch.
Sounded like it was on.
I can talk really loud.
There you go. All right.
So I can tell a little bit about our firm and sort of what we do, and Eric will jump in if needed. Wither Burns, we've been around 25 years or so. Currently, our firm consists of 4 partners and 2 associates. We've got 5 full-time staff folks and then a part-time bookkeeper.
Can you state your name for the record, though, please?
Patrick Jones. I am one of the 4 partners at Wither Burns. Eric is one of the other 4 partners, Burns over there. One of the primary areas that we practice in has been municipal law over the years. I've distributed resumes for both myself and Eric to everybody. Kind of gives you an overview of sort of what other municipal entities we're representing currently and sort of what we do. A couple of them, City of West Lafayette, Eric's been Corporation Counsel for a long time there. In terms of towns, we've represented the town of Battleground for a while, represent the town of Jamestown, which is down in Boone County. We do some work for Carroll County for their RDC and for their county council. Some of you, the APC and the BZA for Tippecanoe County as well, we represent. So we've done a lot of municipal work over the years. We've represented towns, we've represented counties, we've represented townships, volunteer fire departments and cities, and you know, most things that come up in local government, myself or Eric have dealt with over the years. Generally speaking, how our firm kind of handles municipal clients in the past, it's generally been, you know, kind of 2 attorneys that are sort of the primary folks that handle it, and then we've got 1 staff person, Chris Euler. She's kind of our municipal paralegal who does a lot of the utilities stuff and a lot of the governmental stuff, and she has for a long time. She's been with our office for, you know, 15 years, I think, going, you know, 10 to 15 years in that ballpark, and has done municipal stuff for that entire time period, so she's a great resource. But, you know, whether it's really, I mean, we've dealt with a lot of issues for a lot of different governmental entities over the years, and I think are pretty comfortable dealing with pretty much anything that would come up for you folks as well. So, you know, I think that our office, generally speaking, we're not set up in this that it's sort of you get a town attorney and that's your town attorney and that's the only person you ever deal with. We take more of a collaborative approach, I would say, because there are inevitably times where things come up in people's lives and we kind of keep each other cued in. Generally speaking, it would be myself and Eric. But, you know, in terms of cost and things like that, sometimes stuff gets delegated to associates because it's cheaper. And frankly, sometimes for drafting simple ordinances and things like that, it can get delegated to even our paralegal because she has a lot of experience for us to review. So that's kind of an overview of what we do. I mean, some of you might be familiar with Eric or Jerry Wither, or myself even. We've been in the community for a long time. I know Eric was born and raised in Tippecanoe County. I was born and raised in Tippecanoe County, so we've spent a lot of time around here. So I'm more than happy to field or answer any questions that anybody has. And we might have some questions too as we talk a little bit more, but that's kind of a general overview of sort of our background and what we do and have done, you know, since for the last 20-some years.
When I talked to you earlier, I told you that We have our meetings scheduled on the third Tuesday of every month, and I think you'd indicated that that was an available slot.
Neither one of us have a conflict on that
Okay.
evening, or neither one of us have an ongoing regular conflict.
Right.
Another public meeting occurs at that time, so
Okay.
that wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. I don't know, I would assume we're pretty typical. We've got ordinances need to be done and reviews of things that come before us for whatever reasons. I don't think anything too earth-shattering has occurred or is occurring here that wouldn't be occurring in a town bordered right next to Lafayette, so. But,
Do you are you currently representing any of the organizations in Lafayette governmentally?
Yeah, in Lafayette?
Yeah.
No, we do not represent. Eric's the former Lafayette attorney, but that's
Yeah,
been
saw
20 years or
the
so,
former-
I
so just
think.
wanted- So there's nothing that would be a conflict of interest between you and us and them and?
No, there would not.
And I'll let him answer. I've never represented anybody in Lafayette, but.
Eric Burns, Willard Burns from Lafayette, and I've been at it for about 40 years, and this is the juice for me. This is what I like. This is my favorite type of practice. I've done everything, so some of it's fun, some of it's not. And if you've done everything, you find that out. So this is what I am doing. I'm going to be doing it for as long as I'm allowed to, whoever's in charge of that. And we have represent a lot of utilities also, both public and private. And I know you folks have a couple of utilities that you're working with. I did have as far as Lafayette, I think Jerry Withard still represents the Lafayette Housing Authority.
Okay.
Hardly ever even goes to the meetings because they don't need him much, but otherwise, I was city attorney in Lafayette eons ago, and they have no other relationship with him.
Okay. We just have occasionally
I can see
we
why
have
looking at the map.
dealings or
Yeah.
butt heads a little bit here and there. I just wanted to make sure we were.
No, I understand that. So, I'd be happy to answer any question you've got. I do have some. You have once a month meeting on Tuesday. Other meetings, do you sit as a board of works for your utilities at different times, or does that all get taken care of at the
Yeah.
third Tuesday?
Utility meetings typically happen prior to the council meetings.
Okay, same evening then. And I don't know what you need as far as legal staff at that, but that'd be something we'd want to talk about. We charge on an hourly basis. We have always reduced our fee from our usual fee for any governmental entities. Our fee, my fee is a bit lower, but my regular fee is $3.45 an hour, which seems just outrageous to even me. However, we do it in the 200 range for our municipal clients. I think it's $265 for the city of West Lafayette. We would suggest $245 for you folks. We do some at $225, $235. It just gets all mixed around. We try and be economical with our time, as Patrick kind of indicated. We've got some pretty well staffed positions that take care of a lot of the kind of the run-of-the-mill stuff. So we will guarantee you that we're going to give you our best effort, and we're also going to always have the best interest of the town at heart when we do anything, and that's not a hard thing for us to promise, because that's how we are. So, any questions? Any other activities that you think would need legal staffing other than drafting ordinances? Is there any ordinance enforcement stuff that you need to file, or are most of those taken care of without filing in court?
For the most part, I think it's all been taken care of without having to file it.
Good.
Of course, you never
You
know.
never know.
Sure.
You never know what's
It's
going
not
to come
common
up.
though.
Right.
You have an ordinance violations bureau that you write tickets and collect under the ordinance
Our,
violation bureau.
Marshall does that,
Marshall does
yes,
it.
and then the
Okay.
payments are ran through the clerk's office.
Okay. Any utility activities going on that's of interest? IDEM's happy with you, I'm sure. Or is happy with everybody else.
Yeah, well, we hope they'll be happy with us after our audit. Okay.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You're doing one now?
Yeah. Well, and West Lafayette's having one done, right? And so they got us in Lafayette and West Lafayette, so ours is, December 13th, Friday the 13th. But we've hired an engineering firm, CB Burke, to
Okay.
assist us with that, and of course, they're part of we're in a partnership with everyone else for the stormwater. So this is gonna be a construction audit, post-construction audit.
So your flow goes to Lafayette?
To
Yeah.
Lafayette.
And then
yes.
how about the water?
Comes from Lafayette.
Yeah, we get our water from Lafayette as well. We're in the middle of seeking a grant for a storm water and wastewater study.
Okay.
We have a new subdivision, recent Baker Farms, and there's always been talk of the expansion of that. We kind of feel like we're gonna need more water as things expand. Don't know what all's gonna happen down on this end of town, but probably a lot. And then as far as on the east end of town too, we've got developers that are looking at things there as well, so.
Yeah, that whole Lebanon thing is,
Yeah,
that is,
there's a lot going on.
gear it up,
Yeah,
no doubt.
and then,
Do you have a wastewater fee now?
yes,
So you have
Yeah.
$4 or $5 for EDU or something?
we have, so our utility bill is water, wastewater, stormwater,
Sanitation.
sanitation,
Sanitation, trash.
Oh, yeah, okay.
and trash. We don't charge for fire. I know some places do have a fire fee, but the town absorbs that.
Mhm.
So that's kind of currently where we're at on utilities.
Okay.
Pretty much basic, I think.
What is the fire coverage here?
We have a volunteer fire department.
Sheffield Township Fire covers us.
They are actually stationed in town.
Actually, I
Oh,
drove
yeah, that's
past, I
right.
had to turn around in their parking lot, so.
Yeah, okay, so you got the tour. Okay.
That's a pretty good department.
Yeah, they respond, I mean, response time is good and
Yeah.
coverage is good.
So any questions for me?
I have a question. So if your paralegal does work, then it's a different fee?
Yeah, she's at 110 an hour, I think.
Okay, and then your fee is different from his?
I think we're 245 would be our
Okay.
suggested fee
Okay.
for both of us, because that is also lower than his
Yeah,
fee. I don't know what you
is
want.
295.
Okay,
Reduce it for.
and the paralegal, I'm sorry, was,
110.
and then are we billed monthly or quarterly? How would you bill?
We don't care, it's what you
Okay.
want. We traditionally do monthly just because it's easy.
Okay.
Because we bill every month.
Okay,
And I also think it's better for you to know what I've been working on, because you're gonna know most of the time, but there may be certain things that you weren't aware of, or you thought, oh yeah, I forgot about that, so I think it's important. We don't really care what the pay schedule is. If you wanna do them quarterly, that's fine, but we're gonna send a bill if it's nothing other than informational, gives you the opportunity to see what's going on.
Would it be the same person attending our monthly meetings each month, or be one of three, or,
As far as a person,
yes,
it'd be one of us.
one of the two?
Yeah, one of the two of us. We got a couple associates. We would not send a paralegal. We'd send a
Okay.
lawyer. And it happens here and there, not very often, that we would send an associate. But it does happen from time to time.
There's been times when we've had to seek advice from the attorney when we're discussing something, so,
Yeah, and I think it's important. I think it's part of the
yeah.
duty of local government to, it costs you money, but it's also something that I think is important, so you make sure you're staying inside the lines.
We're loaded, we don't work.
You're
for
loaded,
one.
yeah, I know you are. Yeah, you bet you are.
Do you, I don't know, do you have a typical response time? If I send you an email and I need to know something, how long? will
Not
it
as good as
take?
Sheffield. This guy's really good. I'm fine.
I always check my email.
But
Okay.
he's really good. And what's really good, if you need it, he'll have have it done that day. I mean, how often does that happen? Not often.
Yeah.
First question I always ask if I'm gonna have a delay of a couple days is, you know, when you need it. And if I can't get it done, then it's gonna go there. If he can't get it done, it's gonna go somewhere in the firm. We will meet whatever deadline. Sometimes it's helpful just to get in the habit for you folks, hey, we need it this day. Perfect, great for us. Put it on the schedule. It's easier than saying, hey, when do you need it? So we'll meet any deadlines that you give us.
Great. That would be wonderful.
Council deadlines, council meetings are the deadlines, you know. Do you have a pre-council filing deadline, or does it matter when it gets filed?
No.
So you
It's,
can file things, if a counselor has a resolution or something, you can file it the night of the meeting.
yeah, you can do it up to then. We typically, you'd like to avoid doing
Sure.
that. Sometimes that's happened because we didn't get them until the night of the meeting, so.
Absolutely, understood.
But, that's to be avoided if possible.
Sure.
So, that was kind of the reason for my question.
Mhm.
We do occasionally, well, unfortunately, more than occasionally, have meetings that are not every, on, yeah, we have additional meetings besides those our Tuesday meetings,
As we
such as
sit
this.
here on the 30th
Yeah.
Like on Halloween Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I guess what we understand is, how we understand things now is our attorney will be here if they're available or not. And so.
Well, it would be extremely unusual for us to not have an attorney here. It might not be two of us if it was an odd meeting and we get 49 hours of notice, but, you know, you'll have an attorney here on almost all cases.
Okay.
And some meetings, as you well know better than I, some of them need an attorney, some of them it's like, yeah, they could be. The other
Right.
thing I've done with Battleground in particular is, they put everything on the front end of the meeting that they think they're gonna need the lawyer for, and then I'm available by phone. And once in a blue moon, I'll get a phone call, you know, after I've left the meeting, hey, we forgot to ask you, yeah, fine, what is it? So that can be sort of an outlet for you if that ever came up.
Typically, our attorney has stayed for the entire meeting, 'cause
So what other kind of meetings we looking at, just special meetings?
just
or
special
times?
meetings for things that may come up for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Mhm.
Sometimes we need to resolve something and it needed to be done before our next regular scheduled meeting, so
Do you have work sessions that are not?
typically not. Because, I don't know, we've kind of been advised that if, more than two of us ever meet, then we may be violating the open door law.
As long as you post it. And the only difference being, the agenda for a work session is we're gonna do a work session. What's that mean? Well, that means you're gonna sit in this room with whoever from the public that wants to be here, and you're gonna, with the majority, you're gonna talk about all sorts of stuff, whatever you want. You're not gonna take any votes, because you said it was a work session.
It is a public meeting,
Oh,
then, a work
absolutely,
session.
absolutely, yeah. It's
Mm.
purely public, like everything else you do. With
Good.
very few exceptions. I'm sure you're like everybody else. You have exec sessions every once in a while, but not very often.
Right.
So I do have a question. So, based on what you said and what I've read, and going back to what Steve asked about conflict of interest, if we should run into some sort of conflict with somebody else that you represent, what happens?
Well, if it is a hard conflict, then I'm out for you, I'm out for that other person. I can't overcome a hard conflict. A hard conflict means that these two parties are at odds, okay? And they're both at odds. It doesn't happen too often, but it's happened at the APC, I think once in the last 5 or 6 years, because I represented a property owner, and the APC had an issue, and so I got out. And the other thing is that sometimes they're not hard conflicts, they're just, I used to represent that guy. Yeah, it's not related to this matter. I represented him and I did his will. And now he's got a matter for the town. The town has to consent that that's okay, essentially what it is. And my position. I'm sorry.
So you would back out, so we would be left without representation?
Well, if you didn't want representation, yeah, otherwise we would give you 3 different names, say here's some lawyers that you might give a call to.
Let me rephrase. We would be left without representation that we're familiar with and hired who's familiar with us, and we would have to see
Depends
people
on
we
who,
don't know.
depends on who the lawyers are. If you know other lawyers, you can have them do it. And, you know, the option is to, you know, get lawyers that don't have any clients, which
Good luck.
wouldn't be a good one. I will say that it has happened in 40 years, a couple times.
But you bow out of both sides.
If it's a hard conflict where it's this, I'll just pick an example. I advise a property owner 10 years ago about the town of Dayton and a zoning matter, or an enforcement matter. Let's say they had trash, right? They got a ticket, and I advised them. And then here we are 10 years later, the town of Dayton goes after the same person for the same offense. That's a hard conflict. I can't represent you guys, I can't represent them, I would just be done in that kind of case. That's why it hardly ever happens. Same person, I did their will, I did a contract for them, any number of things. So it's a previous client of mine, but that had nothing to do with the town of Dayton. I would say to you folks, hey, Joe Blow, I did his will, I don't believe there's a conflict, but you folks have to be comfortable. And you'd say, well, how about this, how about this, how about this, and I'd answer, and you'd either be comfortable or not. So it'd be your choice as to whether or not that was gonna be handled. And in that case, since I'm your lawyer, that person from 10 years ago is no longer my client, I'm not doing anything for him. So I would stay with the town of Dayton, and the person may not like it, but it has nothing to do with the contract I reviewed or the will I wrote for him.
So you've got an
it's on
established
top.
process,
Oh,
essentially.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an ethical process that we avoid getting in trouble with the Indiana Supreme Court. The Indiana Supreme Court's in charge of ethics.
Good to know.
We don't, it's a good thing to avoid. And so we're very careful about that. But when in doubt, we don't walk into conflicts, believe me. Did I get that right, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think inevitably conflicts are gonna come up every once in a while when you're representing clients, and you just deal with them as they come up.
It's not common.
It's not common, but you know, we've got a process for communicating.
And to my knowledge, we don't have any conflicts with anybody right now. So-
None. No, correct.
Get six of them.
Yeah, it's early, you know, it's in there.
You guys brothers?
Oh, yeah, that's my brother.
That's what I thought.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
He's actually the age of my oldest son, and they went to high school together.
Cool.
And my oldest son's a prosecutor, actually, in Dickinson County. Another lawyer.
Well, you got the same last name, don't you?
No,
No,
Jones.
Jones.
Oh, you're a
He's a
Jones.
Jones, I'm a Burns.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Patrick Jones. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm getting up there in age myself. Okay, well,
So, be happy to cover anything else, or if we have an engagement letter, we can leave that. If you have questions, just you probably call Patrick, and, you know, we'll work with you in almost any situation I can think of. We're always gonna do our best to work with you and make things work.
So you've
Give you
already,
good advice.
you've already put together an engagement letter?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
We
we
did.
have one that we typically use.
Okay.
for government
Good.
bodies.
So we don't have to spend money on postage. We're pretty cheap.
I have a question. You said RDC?
Redevelopment, yeah.
Okay, and so that would be TIF?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep. Yep.
thank you.
So
Represent
are you,
Carroll County,
have
Southeast
you,
West Lafayette.
Okay.
established TIFs, bonds, the
Mhm.
whole gamut of that?
Yeah,
End of
we don't
things?
do bonds.
Right.
Bond counsel does that, they have to. We've helped establish some RDCs here and there. We've worked on establishing sewer utilities and other things, so that is a statutory process, so you just kind of look at the state statute and decide how to do it.
So,
Done
but
for
you're
4 or 5 different organizations.
you're familiar with the whole gamut of, whatever the redevelopment commission is needing to do,
Yes.
or if they, if we wanna establish another
Mhm.
area, all those things.
Yep. Yep.
Excellent. Excellent.
You've got one now,
We do have one now.
and that runs up against Lafayette's? Or is it, it's not a joint one, is it?
Well, is it
3865.
It's, Lafayette and Tippecanoe County, right?
There you go, I remember that now.
Yeah.
What kind of tip are you getting? Do you have development in there that's paying?
Yes.
Generating some revenue?
We're generating revenue from that right now.
Good.
Good.
Oh my God. Sorry, I just saw
I
this
know, that was
tanker
scary,
truck.
wasn't it?
It wasn't.
A tanker truck trying to
Barely
blow us
made it.
all up.
Barely made it.
I'm gonna strip
He made it.
Yeah, it's an issue.
That is a big issue.
Yeah. Do you have any pull at the state so we can get a stoplight?
It's pretty busy.
Maybe a wire
It's pretty
turner.
busy.
Yeah, we've
It is busy.
we've
Well,
tried.
they're harvesting down the road. That's
Nobody's
what
got,
you're seeing.
nobody's got pull with the state.
Particularly not in that, which is.
All right, yeah, leave us your engagement
Will
letter.
do.
Does anybody from the town have any questions, Dave? Vicky is the president of our redevelopment commission,
Oh, there you
so.
go. Sherrill County and West Lafayette currently. Battleground also.
Jamestown has a TIF district.
Yeah,
so
so it does too.
They have different council that does their redevelopment stuff.
Scott, do you have any questions or anything? Okay.
Okay, folks,
Fantastic.
I'll leave you to it. You'll be here till what, midnight?
Hope not.
You've had a few
Yeah,
of those.
yeah, the party's just
We
started. I
have.
leave now.
We have.
Nice to see
Okay,
you.
perfect, thank you.
Bridget.
Good to see you. Take care, folks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
too.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Oh, we can go on this. Okay, thanks. See you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody have any further discussion with them?
Sounds good to me. I don't know enough.
I guess we won't decide this tonight, but would we entertain hiring them for our attorney? Since we're all here, I think we can talk about that.
Their background seemed good. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I like the idea of them being aware of how to not charge us for the most amount of time, and they're local, so we're not gonna pay a ton in travel time, so.
And we'll always have one or the other. I like that. That someone is available.
Yeah.
okay. Well, I think I will be putting them on the,
Carly comment at all? No?
I think I'll be putting them on the agenda to bring them up for a vote at our next regular meeting. All right. So, I thought while we're all here that we ought to talk about have a salary discussion, because that's gonna be coming up, and it was just such a nightmare last year, because it was like waiting until the very last minute to do anything on it. And I don't think we wanna be doing that anymore. So,
I thought we had discussed all that.
tell me what we discussed so we can refresh my memory.
Maybe you should refresh mine. I just thought we discussed the salaries, the raises, the no stipends, the insurance, everything for the budget. Everything was gone over. So I don't know. That's all.
Well, so at this, now what we have to do is we have to actually come up with numbers, what we're gonna do, okay? So I sent you the comparisons, some comparisons. Did you guys print those up?
No, but I have mine on my phone.
You have yours, Carla?
No?
Steve?
I've got it on the iPad. That's the one with Mulberry Us and
Did you not
Tippecanoe
get the
County.
email?
Yeah.
Got the email, but I have no way of printing it.
But do you have it on your phone?
Itty bitty teeny tiny.
You could have forwarded it to me, Carla. I would have printed it off. I didn't get the email.
Do you want me to forward it to you?
Do you want printed copies?
Nope, with anybody else.
See, what was that? What'd she say?
She said no.
No, she said more than that.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So, I'll tell you that I have been looking at our, trying to figure out about insurance. And if we could provide insurance or not, and what that would look like. So, I think everybody knows that Dayton's a great place to live. And I would like for us to be known as making Dayton a great place to work. And in order to do that, you've got to, you gotta be willing to have your employees work for you and you work for your employees. It's very competitive out there, especially with the police right now. And we know how hard it is to find qualified help. So, and we've got great help right now. We've got a great police force. And I wanna make sure that we keep them happy. They're good to us, and I wanna make sure that we're good to them. And of course, all of this, whatever you do, you need to be compensated for it. They make comparisons, everyone makes comparisons to somebody else. And you decide if you're gonna keep your job or not based on numerous factors. Compensation being very important, but also benefits.
So I don't see a deputy marshal for Mulberry.
They have a few deputies, but
They have 3 deputies, 1 marshal.
What is their salary?
Their marshal gets 74,251. 1 deputy gets 19,489.
Where do you see that?
Huh?
Where do you see that?
I've done the work on that before and pulled it all up.
Oh, okay, so
My
what,
notes.
the 1 deputy gets what?
19,489.
Rocky, are their deputies part-time, full-time?
Must be part-time.
right.
The total outlay for Mulberry is $104,758 compared to $147,622 for Dayton. There's not a community out there that's the same size as Dayton that gets anywhere close to what Dayton's paying out.
So.
Battleground, which is bigger than Dayton, pays out $91,462. Rossville, which is bigger than Dayton, pays out $80,921. Okay, Shadeland don't even have a marshal, all they got's a volunteer fire department. Those are the 5.
So I got the marshal in Mulberry at 74,884.
Well, I got him at 74,251, so we're
that's-
close enough, I don't know.
And then we got our marshal at 64,77.
I got him at 67,127.
Look at the last column.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I gotta scroll back
Okay,
and forth,
now-
'cause it's on my phone.
Now, the thing where I get confused at, okay, is when you look at the budget that was set forth, it said that he was not supposed to exceed $60,477, according to, ordinance 2024-17.
But was that without the stipends that were thrown in there
Correct.
at that time?
There's certain,
Let me ask you this, I'm unfamiliar with, no, he's
I'm
been getting the
unfamiliar
same,
too, Bob.
he's been getting 23, 26 all year long.
But we're gonna do
So
away with that.
the stipends, I'm assuming, I don't know this, I'm asking, stipends are not figured into your bi-weekly pay, are they? They're given to you at a 1 lump sum, no?
the marshal, no.
Any stipend,
Well, it just depends on how, there's a healthcare stipend, Rocky, and that's paid out every pay period. That's what's in the
oh,
salary
you're talking the
ordinance.
healthcare.
Yes,
That's
I'm
the
not
three-
talking-
Is that
I'm
the
talking the
$300 a
healthcare.
month?
That is now $500 a
$500
month. It's $250 every 2 weeks, every pay period. And there's a different fund
Yeah,
for healthcare stipends that comes out of a different fund.
Right. Right.
There's several different funds in the general fund that payroll is taken out of, several
Right.
funds.
Right.
And then there's funds from MVH, there's funds from water and wastewater that support payroll.
Yeah, I didn't what stipend were you referring to?
I don't know, all of them, I don't know.
Okay,
I've slept since that last meeting.
yeah, yeah, that's where it actually.
So if you pay,
Other, go ahead.
if you pay the insurance stipend every 2 weeks, that's 26 pays.
Mhm.
That goes over the 6,000 a year.
Well, there's one pay that you drop it, that you have to drop it on the weeks or months that they have 3 pay periods. There's 2 of them.
Okay.
And then, of course, comparing them to West Lafayette and Lafayette, I thought, well, you know, West Lafayette, 44,000 people, Lafayette, 70,000 people. You know, I don't think it's a fair comparison.
I wonder how many officers there are per capita. You know, you say that, but how many
I don't know.
officers do they have?
I don't know what the size of their forces are.
I do know that either one of our officers would be more than qualified to be able to go to any of these
I'm
departments.
sure they are.
And being able to pull an officer from somewhere else to fill that position would be, then you are competing against them. So we do, that is part of our competition.
Well, and I'm not trying to say this in a bad way, but when they elected to come to Dayton, they probably had the same opportunity at that time to go to Lafayette or West Lafayette and be qualified and get the big bucks.
And, Evan, it took Scott well over a year to be able to find somebody to fill that position. So,
Well, it's like when I went to be a chef somewhere, I had an opportunity to choose, and if that didn't work, you would still look for a better opportunity. I'm blue collar, that's the only way I know how to do this stuff, is going off of my life.
Yeah.
So, and I am up to bail why wouldn't I if I could make a huge difference in my life and my family? That's just me as
Yeah.
a worker bee.
I don't know what we accomplish by trying to stay cheap. I really don't. And I don't think we have to. So if you can explain to me why that makes sense, I would like to know that. I know you can pull these numbers out, and it's probably really hard to figure out exactly why this guy stays there. Maybe it's just, they don't wanna go to somewhere else, you know?
That's what.
And we also have that, because look at what our pay is compared to Mulberry, for instance.
Right, Bridget's is huge. Like 33 and 43, that's big.
Well,
Or
Again,
56, 33 and 56. 55.
Well,
yeah.
so we tried to make
Five.
up for all that. We make
With
up for
the-
that with the stipends.
But are we getting rid of them? So if we get rid of them, we have to give them.
Well, so the talk about the stipend on the clerk is kind of another discussion. I think at this point, I kind of like to stay on
Stipend.
the non-elected officials at this moment. Steve, you got anything?
As you know, I really dislike doing this in public forum. I know we don't have a choice,
I know,
but
we all do.
I don't feel comfortable either, but
it's, I'll obviously, we have to keep our pay in line with other municipalities who are similar size. I don't think comparing us to Lafayette or West Lafayette, other than as a line officer, is really a fair comparison. The job here is different, and there's gotta be some differences in being an officer in Lafayette, being an officer in Dayton. Not being an officer, I can't tell you for sure, but I would just, as a civilian, assume there's some differences.
Well, Lafayette has more backup, I would assume.
Yeah, they need it though. I mean, I like to think other than recently, typically it's kinda
Right.
quiet here in Dayton. Last couple of weeks, the team's been very busy, so. As long as we're in line with other areas, I don't have a problem with it. I'd like to see us get rid of the stipend for the non-elected people, cause we just have a flat salary. They know what it's gonna be, they can plan on it, we know what it's gonna be, we can budget for it. I'd love to find a way to actually offer insurance as opposed to give them money for insurance, because I think that's a better deal for them and us. But I have not been able to turn up
How to do that?
yeah, you would think some company somewhere would lump all the small municipalities together and say, okay, let's do some kind of a sort, you know.
And we have discovered that.
Yeah.
And I am actually gonna be talking to, Vicky has been helping me with this, okay? So AIM, the Advanced Indiana,
Accelerated Indiana Municipalities.
yeah, they offer a program. And so we're actually gonna get some quotes on Friday.
Perfect.
To find out what that's all about.
Quotes for what?
For insurance,
Oh.
to see what it would, to see what that would look like, because at this point, we have no idea what that will look like. But I did get some information from, let's see, for the county and what their insurance costs are. And, I tell you, the county, for instance, for an employee, the actual monthly cost for their plan is about $770 a month. That's the actual cost for the plan. Of that, their employee contributes about $100. So, let's see, I think I misspoke. It's about $770 a month for the plan. Employee contributes $100, so the county is contributing $670 a month. That's for an employee only. You go to an employee with family plan, the actual monthly cost is $2,230 a month. The employee contributes $334. So the county's contributing $1,896 a month for one family's insurance. So, you know, you see this, what the county deputy's making right here. If he takes insurance, that's just his base compensation. If he takes insurance, there's another $20,000 plus a year the county's contributing towards his insurance. Of course, he has to pay some of his base pay towards that. And I don't know that they are actually giving them, I don't know anything about stipends or anything like that on here. I wasn't privy to any of that information, if that even exists. Now, what we were told up in in Mulberry, and I don't know if they have any kind of plan that their marshal can contribute to, a plan sponsored by anybody. But his base pay is about $64,000 a year. His insurance stipend is $10,400. Okay, so that's where he gets up at about, and that's for 2024. So I don't know what next year looks like. There was one other thing that I found interesting that West Lafayette's doing, and that's a longevity pay. And, I think I copied all you guys on this, and so that was at the bottom of that compensation comparisons
yeah.
page. So, basically, after year 5, they get, an additional $500. And then each year, there's another $250 added onto that, up to 20-plus years, then they would, be at $5,500. So, Scott's been with us for 10 years now. Be an option to, if we did some kind of longevity pay, if you call it, I don't know if you call it a stipend, I don't know what they call it. But anyhow, he would be about $1,500, So I think that's important too, that encourages your people to stay, because each year that they stay, there's, they can be assured that they're gonna be receiving more money that way too. So, I don't know, I don't know that I wanna come up with any I don't wanna come up with any conclusions tonight. We need to take a look at this insurance thing to see how it all pans out as well. But, like I said earlier, I'd like to make this a place that people want to work. Next time that Scott needs to hire somebody, I want them to say, yeah, I've got the skills that this town needs, and they're competitive and pay enough that I would like to work in Dayton. And then he can go pick off the cream of the crop, so that we can get the best instead of having to settle for whatever comes our way.
You think that's been the case? I don't think that's been the case. I think we've got some pretty darn good, deputies that he's got working here for us and everything else. I don't think, and
Well, I think you kind of misinterpreted how I was saying that. No, I don't think that's the case, but I did say it took a year to find somebody, right?
well, I wasn't involved in, so I can't.
I can only imagine that there were a lot of applications, and it took him a while to find the right guy, and in this environment, finding that right person is tough.
Has he showed any disgruntlement that we know of? I mean, is he saying anything, or? I mean, people talk, regular jobs, I'm sure people at your work talk, if they're not satisfied with what they're getting, they talk to somebody.
Well, my employer tries to keep their people happy,
Well,
and
I used to work there, I know.
so they go out of their way to keep their people happy. So they don't have to deal with problems further down the road because they were trying to, save a dime.
Well, and mine, and obviously I work for a much bigger organization than Dayton, but, mine does that too, but on the other hand, it also has, each position has a range, and you can only, when you get to the top of that range, there's only so much more you can get. And as somebody who's been at and can probably continue to be at that kind of a thing, it can be frustrating, but it's what that is. And obviously, I'd rather not have anything like that happen to our folks, but we do have to, like I said, has to keep in line with the market to a certain degree, whether it needs to come up or whatever we can figure out later, but we do need to keep within.
Yeah, as of this point, we don't have a range, correct? I mean, not on our books.
No, a lot of smaller organizations don't.
No, we don't have a range, but when we make our ordinance, we say what the top's gonna be.
And as far,
And the bottom as far as that goes
Right.
at the same time.
as far, I mean, and obviously I speak for myself, but I like the idea. One of the things I find a certain level of pride in what Marshall Taylor is doing, and I like the way he does it is, in the case of his deputy, is he got a younger officer who's wasn't a patrol officer before, right? Is that correct? Wasn't he, Was he a patrol officer? Ah, but anyway, he's teaching him, he's mentoring him, he's helping him to be a better officer, and I see that, and I appreciate that as well. You know, obviously, it'd be easier for him to hire a experienced long-term officer, but I think, you know, I always take a great deal of pride in the folks that I've mentored and go on to do better thing, and an incredibly smart woman who I was lucky enough to know, always told me that if you're a good leader, you're training your replacement. So,
Could very well be.
so, I mean, obviously, we still need to compensate our folks the best we can, and I think if we can actually get into a point where we can pay for some insurance, that would be a lot easier on them, because, yeah, buying insurance is
Crazy.
no fun.
Pension. Is there a pension fund?
There's perf, yeah. We have
Okay.
perf, it comes out of the perf fund. Yeah.
Okay, and who qualifies for the pension fund?
Me, well, the clerk treasurer position, and then any full-time person.
Any
So there's
full-time
just three
person.
of us currently.
Okay, but you have to, in
You have to
order-
be 10 years
10 years, okay,
before you're
so-
vested.
So, he would be vested now, cause he's been here
Correct.
10 years,
Yes.
okay,
Evan has a ways to go, and so do I.
okay. And
Well,
that-
let's hope both of you get there.
and that's put in by
Well,
the town.
we put a
The
portion in.
employee don't, the
Yes,
employee
yes.
don't add anything to it,
Yes.
just the town adds to
No,
it.
the employee does too,
The
and then the
employee
town
does
does.
too?
Yes, the
Puts
town
in
does
some
as
too?
well, yes.
Okay.
We both
I'm
do.
just trying to find out,
Yeah.
you know,
The employee's not required to though, correct, but the town is?
3%,
3%.
yes.
Is it set up as a matching fund?
No, it's 11% with the town and 3% with the employee.
At minimum?
Unless you want to increase it.
So when are we gonna make a final decision?
after we find out about insurance, he said.
Okay.
Well,
What he said.
we're gonna find out, we'll find out about insurance, and then we'll see if that leads us to if that's the point that leads us to a final decision. We will have, we need to have this done
Yeah,
before the end of the year,
precisely.
okay? So our next meeting, Alicia will be here, and depending on what happens, that may be her last meeting. We may be working with different council in December.
Now,
So we kinda gotta have something in place for them to be able to run with, if that does happen.
okay, let's, talk about Bridget in a second now, okay?
Okay, all right.
If I'm figuring correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, with your salary you get, plus the $14,000 stipend you'll be receiving, that'll put you up at like $55,625, am I correct?
I
Have you
have to
figured
add
that
it.
out? Don't-
That
That's-
sounds
that's-
ballpark.
Huh?
I would have to
It's
add
right
it
here,
on
Rocky.
Huh?
This is 2024 compensation,
Okay, all right,
okay?
yeah, okay, so you got the stipend figured in there,
Stipend?
the stipend, you
Yeah.
got the stipend figured in
Got
there.
that figured in there, yes.
Okay, do you have any stipend figured in here? For the marshal?
Yeah, that was his stipend. This is the 2024, this is what they receive, will have or will receive in 2024. So at the end of the year, this would be the numbers that will be reported on their taxes,
Yeah,
okay?
okay,
So the stuff that you gave us is from 2024 from the Mulberry and all that. Aren't they doing the same thing we are to figure out about raises and?
I'm sure they
I
are,
mean, aren't they,
but we're not privy to
Right.
that.
but it's still in their,
Yeah, and then also these other numbers here, which, by the way, of course, the deputy's pretty explanatory on the Tippecanoe County.
Right.
And the West Lafayette and the Lafayette, the first-class officers, that's the lower tier of the officers, okay? So,
And in all reality, these numbers really are not, there's not a big gap in these numbers here, really.
well, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what,
Well, there's not right here, but we don't know what anyone else is doing for next year.
I think there's a big gap here with Evan.
Yeah.
With Evan,
Evan.
for sure. You know, if you look at his total pay for the year, he's about $59,000. And if you look at, and, you know, there's no insurance offered or anything else on there. If you look at the county, and anybody else, you know, they're,
That's 66?
yeah, that's the low end.
Yeah, it is.
And Evan's been with us for a couple of years, so, you know, he would be up at the 71, 72 range.
Oh, yeah, okay. With insurance though, also, right?
With the ability
To
to get insurance, right.
Okay.
And so you gotta figure that money is being contributed by the county.
where's Mulberry's deputy marshal?
Well, I didn't put Mulberry's deputy marshal on there because those guys are only part-time. So that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, that's right.
To-
Nobody else has a deputy marshal.
We do.
Yeah, I know we do, but no other community has a deputy marshal. So we don't have anything to weigh it against.
Tippecanoe,
Tippecanoe what? County?
after 24 months, isn't that what we're just
Well,
discussing?
So, Scott is the chief, so if you wanna make comparisons there, I mean, you saw what the chief of police makes, but we're a town that's different, it's different. We have assistant deputy marshals, you know, they're the ones that are patrolling, on the weekends, and when these guys are on vacation, they're the ones that are filling in.
That's the same one
So
that
we're-
the
so
other,
we're
that-
keep-
that's the same thing probably the other communities have.
That's what I'm assuming is happening in
Yeah,
Mulberry. So
well, I
you're
would
seeing
assume-
those numbers, yeah,
I would assume that Rossville has that, Battleground has that,
right.
Mulberry, okay,
But we have two full-time,
right,
police employees,
right.
okay?
There you go. We're the only one with a population of this area that has two full-time.
Okay,
So, I mean, which is fantastic, that we have two full-times. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not,
I think.
I'm not disagreeing with the fact of not having two full-time. officers.
Eventually, as this town grows, we're gonna need 3 full-time, and then 4 full-time, as the town grows. Or you can deal with the problems of not having police.
You know,
Know what?
so we're always gonna have police protection because we're in the county.
Well, you know, I happened to pass upon an accident on my way to work the other morning. And I stood out in that intersection for 15 minutes after calling 911, waiting. And they were sending somebody, but he was wherever he was at 7:30 in the morning. And so eventually, first person to come was Kanagi. He was on his way to work, and the next thing I know, Scott was there. So, but I was there for 15 minutes before anybody showed up. And not so much me, this accident that had happened, fortunately, nobody was hurt, But these people were just, they were really frantic, and everybody was just waiting for that.
If you're waiting for Tippecanoe to come out here,
Well,
that would be
it
a
just,
long time.
well, it all depends on where they're at,
And what,
obviously,
and
right?
what the
And
nature of the call is,
I'm-
probably.
It would, you know what, I just was thinking in my mind though, at that moment, man, it would've been nice if we had somebody on, if we had somebody then, you know? Cause that's what you want. If you're in an accident, if there's an emergency, you don't wanna wait. You want that to happen right away. That's what you hope for. Now, I realize where every case is a little bit different, but eventually, this town will grow to the point where you're gonna wanna have that. So,
Great.
well, and if that's gonna happen, you need to get prepared for it.
Well, right now, let's worry about the two we have as opposed to the 3 to 4 we
Don't have.
may someday need.
Good point.
My hope is that the town grows to a certain degree. Obviously, I like it being kind of small, but that's just me.
Well, controlled and
But,
under our terms, but,
yeah.
you know. Anyhow, okay, you started off with the clerk. Where were you going with that?
No, I wasn't, I was just comparing, you know,
So,
that, but I guess it is equal if you look at it.
well, here's some.
56, 55.
Well, it's not though, because Mulberry has an administrative assistant for another $43,000 a year.
Yeah,
Okay, so did you find any other little towns around here that has an administrative assistant?
I don't think so.
Is the assistant a full-timer?
I don't even know if, I don't, to be
30
real honest with you, I didn't even do clerks. To be honest with you.
So, you know, when I looked at Lafayette, or the West Lafayette, their ordinance, and I started looking through here, and obviously, they're bigger than us. They're a whole different story, obviously. But if you think about it, a lot of the things that we have to do, they have to do as well, as far as dealing with the state, payroll, all these other things that have to happen. And there's a lot that happens here. And thank God we got Bridget to help us to get these things accomplished. So much in the all this utility stuff that's going on. It's an incredible job. And if she was out in the private sector, she'd be making a lot more money than what she's making here right now. I guarantee you that. We're very fortunate that she's willing to do what she's doing, because she's doing more than what she actually has to do. And we would be sunk without her.
And more than 9 to 5.
And more than 9 to 5, that's right. She's here now. She's here right now, right?
Yeah.
And not getting paid any more for being here right now, you know? Honestly, that's not enough money. She's doing the clerk job, and she's doing the
The
administrative
administration.
assistant's
Mhm.
job as well, Rocky. That's a fact. And I think she should be compensated for that. I really do. Now, I realize you don't wanna have the stipend, you wanna keep the base compensation low. The theory behind that is that you get a road clerk in, then you can try and run her out. I think that's what happened, that's what, you know, you don't give them any money, and they wanna leave. Then hopefully, then the board can come in and they can assign their own clerk, right? Well, we don't have that situation right now, so, you know, in her case, I think the argument was, keep the base compensation low, but you increase the stipends so that you make a fair compensation for the work that's being done. Kinda like a bonus if you're at your job. You know, if you can drive those kids on that bus 80 miles an hour and get them there faster, they ought to give you a bonus, Rocky.
Or when you go
I'm
to
just
ball
kidding.
games
I
and
do
stuff,
drive
that's
my
extra
daily.
time.
Oh, do you?
And I don't get it.
You don't
My
get no
bus only-
bonus?
My bus only goes 64.
Oh,
Won't go faster than that. What
Not
do
that
you
he's
think?
pushed it.
no,
Don't-
yeah, I
don't
was gonna
think
say.
he hasn't tried.
Not that you would know for sure, right?
What you getting ready to say?
Just like if you did ball games and all that, you get compensated for that. You get time and a half overtime, that's why you do it.
No, I get set pay for that.
You don't get paid extra hours for going to,
My pay, no,
if you worked on Saturday,
no.
well, it
I
used to
don't
get.
get paid as much what I get driving around. But I get paid the whole time I'm gone till I get home.
But you don't have to do that.
So while you're sitting there on your phone doing nothing,
While I'm sitting there on the
getting
phone or
paid,
watching a
right?
ball game or anything, I'm getting
Right.
paid. Or eating, going to lunch, whatever.
Well, I'll guarantee you when she's here, she's not messing around, cause I've been in here, she got a stack of papers this tall and she's entering all this in her
Yeah.
computer. Some
Now-
of the stuff is crazy.
Hey, I'm not saying that Bridget doesn't do a fantastic job. I'm not indicating that at all. Now, I did hear this from before. Whatever we decide to pay her, that's locked in stone. So any person that ever comes in and fills that chair, that's what you have to pay them.
And they should be
not-
qualified then.
But
That's
not,
why,
but
but
not the
it's
stipends.
an elected position.
It's an elected position.
So that's why Mark's saying don't get rid of the stipends for the clerk treasurer's
Right.
office.
Oh,
because
cause we
you
can
don't have
lower
to
it,
in-
okay.
The
correct.
reason we keep the
Okay.
stipend for her is because we have control over it.
Oh, yeah, okay, I
Okay?
understand
Yeah.
that.
Because, it's an elected position.
Yeah,
And so if I resigned,
Don't even
then
say that out loud.
Susie Smith came in,
she would still
took
have the
over.
same, but
She
she
would
wouldn't
still
have
get
to
the
have the
base
same,
We wouldn't have to give her the
Stipend.
stipend based on
Correct.
the fact she
Right.
does the job.
that makes total sense.
or if I ran again and lost, same thing.
So,
Well,
Okay.
I'll tell you right now, what I'm gonna advocate for is that we double what her stipends were for this year, going into next year. That's what I'm gonna advocate for. So we'll see how that pans out.
The 15?
Yep,
Okay.
I'm gonna double that.
I wanna double
Right.
that.
what'd you say, 15?
15,552, other stipend.
And that will put her,
I thought it was only 14, 7 and 7.
Well,
I don't know where you got that from.
It's 7,776, $7,776.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is, okay. So you're saying you wanna give her $30,000 next year stipend?
Right. I wanna get her where she would be competitive in,
31, 32,
Yeah, 32.
32.
just add another 15,552 onto what she made this year, basically. That will put her competitive with where she would be if she was out in the marketplace in doing the kind of work and in the position and having the responsibilities that she has right now.
So you can't throw me a ballpark on the marshal or the deputy?
Well, I had some numbers in mind, but I think we need to,
Check insurance
I wanna
first.
check on this insurance thing
Okay.
first. And, I may have to see how this pans out with the clerk thing as well, too. So
And
it
how
all,
good is that insurance? Yeah, you need to find all that out.
right, and then we have to find out, we gotta have at least 2 people on it in order to be able to do it, so. I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work out. I really don't know how it's gonna work out
But we have 2 months to do it right.
Well, yeah.
Well, ideally, no, because you'd wanna pass the ordinance
In
in
December.
December, so
Yeah.
it would take effect in January.
Right.
Alrighty then. Anything else about this? We have any public comment? Any additional council comment?
Speed bumps are done.
Nice.
Oh, excellent.
Parking lots look nice.
Yep, they did a
Parking
nice
lot
job.
looks
They'll
excellent.
be working on yours this weekend, I believe, November 2nd.
Yeah,
All right.
the mums look nice, thank you.
Oh, that's all
We're passing
Cindy's
out
doing.
candy tomorrow, thank you.
Well,
The rails look nice.
You
We-
bought them,
Rails
and the
look
rails
nice.
do look beautiful.
Tarp looks nice.
The gazebo looks good.
Things are looking up, folks.
Gotta start somewhere.
When is that, was that next
We were
gazebo?
so close.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When's that next gazebo?
Gazebo. I'm glad you said that. Okay. December 2nd from 5 to 6:30.
November 2nd.
November,
This.
Oh, November 2nd.
This Saturday,
Yeah.
another
November 2nd.
yeah,
band
Yeah.
and
yeah.
November 2nd from 5 to 6:30. Mexican food truck has turned in their information, so they're all good to go.
Okay,
So bring a blanket, bring a lawn chair, and enjoy some music underneath the gazebo.
I hope
Bring
the
your-
weather's good.
bring your Kool-Aid, put your Kool-Aid in.
I'm going horseback rides.
Anything else? This
No,
meeting's adjourned.
Yeah, once you turn off the mic,
yeah,
don't forget, Leah, what we said we were gonna do.
I know, I do have something to say though.